Good morning. Our keynote speaker this morning is Mrs. Catrice Taylor. She is a resident of Dooley County, where she graduated top of her class from the Dooley County system. She is currently the vice chair of the Dooley County Board of Education, where she has served 3 years of her 6-year term. She is an English instructor at South Georgia Technical College, where she has been employed for almost 10 years. Previously, she was the director of Migrant Health and Homeless Programs for the state of Georgia at the Georgia State Office of Rural Health. She has a master's in public administration and bachelor's of arts of English with a minor in African American studies from Valdosta State University. She is a current member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. She is the daughter of Reverend Carlton and Gloria Martin of Pinehurst, Georgia. She is the wife of Sean Taylor. They have 3 boys, Tajay, Jalen, and Jakari. Please help me welcome Ms. Catrice Taylor.
Good morning, everyone. I want to thank Ms. Baji for the introduction. I'm excited to be your speaker for this Black History program. I was honored when Ms. Carey asked me if I would do it. Everybody's favorite words, I won't keep you long. But I do want to share my experience, since this is Black History Month, of how important Black history is to this country, and I'm going to say even to my existence. Growing up as a member of the Black race, a race that many people would say that has been oppressed in history, and also being a member of a gender that has also seen similar oppression, I, growing up, found it hard at times to live with this identity that I have as an African American woman, because sometimes it may seem that I have a disadvantage on both sides of the spectrum. I go back to an incident that happened a couple of years ago where I was at a local grocery store and a man tried to rudely break in front of me in line. Well, me being stubborn, I wouldn't let him in front of me. And he instantly hurled 2 insults, the N-word and the B-word, at me simultaneously. He took one look at me and decided within seconds to use those 2 words to ultimately attack the 2 cursors of my identity. But looking at myself today, I know that I am more than that. And the reason that I know this is because growing up, I had great African American influences in my life. And I want to use this speech today as part of Black History Month to show how the African American woman specifically played a part in history, which has also resonated in my life. When I was growing up, I had a lot of hair, which you probably can notice. It was wild, it was untamed, it was coarse, it was just a lot. It was a representation of my heritage, my cultural identity as an African American woman. I hated it. I often saw my classmates of different races with long, straight, flowing hair, and I wanted mine to be just like that. There were never women on TV and in magazines with hair like mine, so I didn't think it was normal. And any little Black girl knows that one of the most harrowing experiences is to sit and let a Black mother figure do your hair. It can be traumatizing. Thanks to the inventions of African American hair care with the use of the hot comb and by Madam C.J. Walker and Annie Malone, their inventions helped many Black women achieve a more manageable look with their hair. My mom would take several hours to wash, straighten, and style my hair, and for a moment it was long and straight with what I wanted it to be. But then I would go outside, humidity would hit me, and it would turn into this big poof again. And my mother's work would be undone. It would go back to the biggest poof ball you ever did want to see. Going to middle school, I begged my mother for a perm. I wanted to get rid of the hair that so distinctly defined my Blackness as a young Black girl. She agreed, and I was happy. I would have straight flowing hair that I wanted, and I did, even though the process to get it was tedious. I had to sit with chemicals in my hair while they burned my scalp, and sometimes I would walk out of the beauty salon with a burned up scalp to achieve what I thought was the standard of beauty. Today, though, if you look all around you, you will see that many Black women have gone back to the hair that they were born with. I have gone back to the hair that I once detested and hated. Now it is my crown and glory as it represents for me my cultural identity. I am talking about something so simple as hair can help to define someone's identity as an African American. There are many hair products out there today that appeal to Black women's newfound appreciation for their hair. And I was surprised to find out that the product that I use currently has its own Black history. Madam C.J. Walker and Annie Malone paved the way for Gwen Jameer that you see here on this slide and her product Naturalicious, which in 2015, she became the first African American woman to get a patent on a natural hair care product. Her invention makes it easier for a lot of women to do their hair now in a breeze. So in this day and age, little Black girls like myself growing up wear their natural hair with pride. I go back and think about all that my ancestors had to go through to achieve equality, and at a time now that I am reaping the benefits. I am their African American dream. I am now proud of the fact that my history is so rich in phenomenal African American women. In school, we studied slavery and the likes of Harriet Tubman, a Black woman who started the Underground Railroad to help so many slaves reach freedom, or Rosa Parks and Claudette Colvin, who refused to give up their seats on the bus, which sparked a great bus boycott during the Civil Rights Movement. I wouldn't be able to be here as an English instructor at South Georgia Technical College as an educated Black woman if it were not for the likes of Ruby Neal Bridges, who was the first African American woman to desegregate an all-white school in Louisiana, or Vivian Malone Jones, who was one of the first 2 Black students who attended the University of Alabama in 1963, where she became the first Black student to graduate from there in 1965. I truly believe that they paved the way for me to obtain my bachelor's and then my master's. When I attended college, I had to find myself, and one thing that I did was to take an African American Studies course where I met Dr. Shirley Hardin, a strong African American woman that was over the program, and I was in awe of her. She guided me and mentored me until I decided to minor in African American Studies along with my English degree. She taught me so much about my cultural identity that she was one of the major reasons that I started to be proud of it from an educational perspective. We discussed so many things in her class that I never thought affected me as a Black girl growing up, like not really being able to play with a Black doll as a child. They were just hard to find. Many people don't understand the misunderstandings of a little Black girl growing up that loved to play with dolls and none of them looking like her. I have to give credit to my mother, who did try her best to make sure that my sister and I could at least have some Black dolls growing up. She and my dad were searching, sometimes at failure, to find dolls to represent their girls. But to give credit that we even have Black dolls, you would have to thank the first African American woman cartoonist, Jackie Owens, who was born Zelda Mabel Jackson, who in 1947 created what is called the Patty Jo doll, which was based on a cartoon she penned for a newspaper at the time. This doll was on shelves in time for Christmas and was the first Black doll to have an extensive upscale wardrobe. Also, you have to credit Beatrice Wright Brewington, an African-American entrepreneur who founded B. Wright Toy Company and mass-produced Black dolls with ethnically correct features. She was also an educator and in 1955 instructed other girls in the art of making dolls. Because of these 2 great inventors, little Black girls have a chance to play with dolls representative of themselves. But continuing my English/African American Studies education, I was opened up to famous African American women poets and writers like Maya Angelou, that I have taken one of my life's quotes from her. It says, "I have learned that no matter what happens or how bad it seems today, life does go on and it will be better tomorrow." Poems like Phenomenal Woman with beautifully written lines like, it's in the click of my heels, the bend of my hair, the palm of my hand, the need for my care. 'Cause I'm a woman, phenomenally, phenomenal woman, that's me. And Nikki Giovanni's poem, Nikki Rosa, lines that sums up that black love in families that many young black girls experience growing up. She states, because they never understand black love is black wealth, and they'll probably talk about my hard childhood and never understand that all the while I was quite happy. Or writers like Zora Neale Hurston and Alice Walker, who fostered my love of African American literature. Taking a quote from Hurston, How It Feels to Be Colored Me, where one of my favorite lines says, I do not belong to the starving school of Negrohood, who hold the nature somehow has given them a low-down, dirty deal, and whose feelings are all hurt about it. Even in the helter-skelter skirmish that is my life, I have seen that the world is to the strong, regardless of little pigmentation more or less. No, I do not weep at the world. I am too busy sharpening my oyster knife. These authors influenced my life by showing how important black women are to literature. Next, as I got a little older and started to examine society's standards of beauty, which almost never included the images of an African American woman, but thanks to Danielle Luna and the gorgeous Beverly Johnson for being the first African American women models and supermodels to grace the covers of magazines, with Luna on the cover of British Vogue in 1966 and Johnson on American Vogue in 1974. Now today, there is more representation than it was when I was growing up. These women helped pave the way for figures like Halle Berry to be named one of People's Most Beautiful People as its first African American woman featured in 2003, and Beyonce following 9 years later. These women show that beauty standards are broadly defined and women of all ethnicities are beautiful. This is important to a little African American girl that may not have thought as much growing up. And as an African American woman, I can gladly say that I grew up in the era of Oprah Winfrey, who is the first black woman billionaire and the richest African American woman. She is dubbed Queen of All Media. She has been ranked the richest African American of the 20th century, the greatest black philanthropist in American history, and I can't tell you how proud I am that on January the 20th, when our first African American First Lady of the United States, Michelle Obama, entered the White House. This is a moment that I can always say in my lifetime that I was blessed and honored to be living in. And I am hopeful that one day we will see an African American woman as President of the United States. And when that happens, we can give credit to Shirley Chisholm, who was the first black major party candidate to run for President of the United States in 1972. It also made her the first woman ever to run for the Democratic Party's presidential nomination, and she became the first black congresswoman in 1969. But as I look at all of these women and how they shaped black history and my personal life, I cannot forget the closest African American woman she wrote in my life that I know personally, and that is my mom. She went from humble beginnings, from telling me how she was afraid of being bitten up by snakes when picking cotton in the field in front of the house that I grew up in, to working to pay her way through school, graduating from Fort Valley State University with a bachelor's in arts and social studies and her master's in guidance and counseling. My mom instilled in me what it was like to work hard and to be an educated African American woman. She always stressed to me to get an education and to make sure that I could take care of myself. She was one of the best high school counselors to grace the halls of Dewey County High School, in my opinion. And she impacted a lot of students' lives there. Because of her, I stand as an African-American woman who is confident and assured in her worth, in her intelligence and impact. At a young age, she recognized my educational potential and even at times stressed to me that B's were not good enough when she knew I could easily get an A. She made me realize that sometimes you just have to learn to do things on your own 2 feet. She would say, and I quote her, "Treese, you need to be able to take care of yourself and make your own money so that you won't be out here asking man for money to buy stockings." And that always stuck with me. And because of her guidance and love and standards as a Black woman, I received my education. My mother had a master's, so for at the very least, a master's is what I would get. I try to live my life as a Black history moment waiting to happen. I recently wanted to make a difference in my community in Dooley County, so I ran for the Board of Education in District 5, and I won my seat. 3 years in now, and I can say that this politic thing is no joke. One day, I hope that my niece, here's my niece Kunair, another young African-American girl, will look up to me and say, because of Catrice Marcia Taylor's influence, I feel that I can do whatever I set my mind to, just like the African-American women before me did for me. So when you see the phrase, Black Girl Magic, it is not to diminish or dismiss other races of powerful and beautiful women, because there are other women of different nationalities that have inspired my life as well. This is just a call for those little girls like me, a little African-American girl growing up in Pinehurst, Georgia, who may have thought that her worth was less than awesome. I want to share with you a few more moments of history before I leave. Here's just some more Black history facts. Inventor Alice Parker is behind the central heating and air system. Dr. Eliza Ann Greer, she was born a slave. She became the first African American to practice medicine in Georgia. Major Marcelite Jordan Harris, she's the U.S. Air Force's first Black female Major General. She was recently laid to rest recently. Sarah Richter, by the age of 10, she became the richest Black child in America. She received a land grant from the Creek Nation as part of reparations. Soon after, oil was found on her property. By 1912, the revenue from this was $371,000. Today, that would be roughly $6.5 million. Despite various attempts to steal her land and fortune, she resisted, and she went on to attend Tuskegee University and eventually settled in Kansas City, where her mansion still stands today. Here you have Andrea Motley. She was born February 25th, 1958. She became the first female U.S. Army deep sea diver in April 1982. Katherine Johnson, if you've seen the movie, you know who this is. Hidden Figures. NASA, she's a human computer who calculated trajectories for the Apollo space missions by hand. Here you have Dr. Alexa Kennedy. She was the first African-American woman neurosurgeon. And last, you have Andrea Lewis, the first Black woman pilot in Georgia Air National Guard, and she was just on the news probably 2 weeks ago. As I close, I can't help but to make a call that we celebrate all everyday heroes, no matter the nationality or gender, that may have an impressionable influence in the lives of children that may not know just how important they are. As I end, I told my class that I would shout them out. My 1101-2130 class, I thank you for being here today to support me, and I thank you for listening to me today. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. That was wonderful. Thank you very much. I'm glad all of you of you came today, I just want to remind you that the United States is strong today because of the contributions made by all the African American communities within our society. Yet, oftentimes, these contributions have been overlooked back through our history, and Black History Month provides us a time that we can raise awareness and celebrate about it. Because how many of you knew all of those facts that Ms. Taylor? How many of you knew at least 2 of them? Oh, yay, we got some out there. But that's why we have this history, because most of you probably slept through most of history class anyway. So we do this to give the public an opportunity to learn, to discuss, and pay tribute to the important role that these people have made throughout our great nation. Thank you again to Ms. Taylor. That was wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you for all of your help. I know the members of the National Technical Honor Society, I know y'all did a lot. Thank you, Pastor Keith, for not only our invocation, but for everything else that you've done. And thank you for everybody that came out today. We appreciate it, and y'all have a good day.